All right, thank you very much, Veli, and welcome to our final match of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Mirage with an opportunity to finally strike down TSM, who have seemed, well, unstoppable throughout the course of this stage so far. Stokes, what do you think? Is there a chance for Mirage to sneak out the victory here, or are we looking at another TSM win today?
Oh, well, listen to me here, brother. All right, here's the thing, okay? You know, I don't feel like TSM exactly needs a sales pitch here. I think everyone's in agreement on that, right? But you know who does need a sales pitch, John? It's Mirage. And I got something to sell you guys. Don't worry, don't worry. This is the third place team inside of North America, guys. I know what you might be thinking, but Sam, their round count, the round plus minus, it's negative. It's -1. How are they even in third place? I know, right? I don't know either. I mean, even their stats right now, their stats really don't make all that much sense. I mean, looking across the board, their top player right now, Benji Mula, 1.01 rating. By the way, they're in third place. So Stokes, what are you selling me on? Well, I'm glad you asked, chat, and this is the reason. They have grit, man. They have grit. This team fights for every single inch in every round and always tries to win. This is the reason that I think that this matchup right now actually might be pretty good. We might actually get taken aback by what Mirage has up against TSM. I know that was a very long intro, guys, but I feel like, excuse me, Mirage needed the sales pitch. These guys, I feel like in the future are definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. They've just looked pretty great for what their stats show across the board.
Yeah, Mirage has really developed a reputation this stage of being able to kind of grind their way out through their matches more than anything else. And like you were talking about there, although the stats don't show any sort of flashy plays or anything like that, it's still a very solid core at the end of the day. And that's what's allowed them to sneak up towards third place, making them one of the more promising looking teams in the league right now for stage 2. Now, are they promising enough to take down TSM? That is the question. We also have our community poll question. We want to know from you guys who's going to get more appreciation posts after this one is finished. Will it be Chala or Dream? Go ahead and let us know over at our social channels at R6 Esports NA. I believe we're doing it in the Twitch chat now as well, so you can go and submit your vote there and let us know. Veli will let you guys know if you're right a little bit later on during the show.
It's got to be Chala. I mean, let's just be honest. I think that he already has the crown for the most appreciation post. So, I think that this is just a faulty way of trying to see if Chala is still victorious, and he probably will be. But, there's still a chance. There's still a chance.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, there's a chance for you guys to check out this game as well as we're hopping into it. It's Coastline between these two teams. Mirage will be starting out on defense, TSM on the attack. It is time to head into the map and take a peek at the band, so let's get it started as we begin our final matchup of the day. Mirage gets the first ban here, so let's see who they're going to knock out for their attacker.
I'll be very honest. I've been quite excited for this one throughout all of today. And I can tell you this is the funnest part about it. Mirage haven't played this map in so long. In fact, maybe not at all, that I don't even have anything inside of my CGG Pro. I know nothing as to what their bans usually are on this map. So Capital, I can just tell you guys, makes a lot of sense. In line with a Nomad as well. This map is really open to a lot of different things on how teams want to handle them. We've seen shield bans here before. We've seen lion bans here before. It's really just up to what you don't want to deal with. And that's why TSM will also be removing Valkyrie.
Everything else aligning pretty much as we would expect, with the Valkyrie getting knocked out. Once again, just like with the last map we played over on Consulate, quite a bit of outside play comes into the picture on this matchup, so Valkyrie can be quite an annoying operator to deal with in that respect. And Maestro, an interesting one when you consider what we've normally been seeing, but it makes sense. Maestro is still very much a mainstay for a lot of defenses, especially on this map. A lot of free intel goes over to the defenders because of his utility, not to mention his primary weapon is just very good overall, so removing that is obviously going to make things a bit easier for the attackers.
That might be the understatement of the year, that the Alda is good. It's a pretty nice weapon. We'll put it that way. But I can tell you this, at a minimum, when it comes to TSM and Maestro, they only play him 33% of the time when he is available. So not exactly a spot ban up against TSM coming out from Mirage, but more than likely something that they simply do not want to deal with. And speaking of Coastline and how it usually plays out, what we were talking about before, Lion coming into the mix. Also, Thatcher going to be switched out for a Habana here. So they'll guarantee some of that hard breach, like the lineup across the line here for TSM. But I hate to break it to you guys, this might be the match that finally ends up snapping Chala's streak of making it through with only a death or two.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit hard to traverse things here on this map specifically, so we'll see how all that pans out. Mirror windows immediately coming into the picture to allow for some play on the inside of the sunrise bar there, as well as a rotate if they truly end up needing that. Away from that, though, an extension over here towards billiards also going to be in the cards for Mirage, so they can play upstairs and try to waste the time out for TSM a little bit in the early round as well.
Loving this lineup that we're having from Mirage here as well. A lot of different facets that are quite interesting. Obviously, the one standing out to everybody at home is going to be the Warden pick, something that we don't get to see too often, but I definitely like it with what's happening here with TSM. They have Bolo on the Jackal, so there is a potential for some smoke plays here, but I mean, traditionally not. We don't see it the most when it comes to Hookah. Usually it is just holding the cross for, you know, the rotate out of Hookah, as well as making sure nobody's pushing through luggage and things like that, and just going for that default plant on the bomb chassis. But that might be a little bit difficult overall here, and this honestly might be where those smokes do come into play, because Mirage have brought Mira.
So the Mirror shakes things up for Mirage. Obviously, they have that aggressive position set up downstairs to utilize it, but the Mirror herself being played, as we see now, not loading there, working with Benji, a lot closer towards Aqua and Billiards, as she'll take that much more aggressive role since the utility has already been deployed. From that, though, not a whole lot going on in this first minute of action. TSM still spending, I mean, you can see it there on the left side of your screen, pretty much everybody on the team on drones right now, trying to figure out exactly what's going on with Mirage's own setup. And Mirage, of course, trying to take those drones out as quickly as possible, though they haven't had the best of luck doing so. Only 2 drones total have been eliminated so far, so TSM still has plenty of intel to play off of. And finally, we're going to see that lead to an execution. Dream will be the first to fall as Pojo Man strikes for TSM, getting them the first kill in the game.
Things on the up and up for TSM as they're starting to get a grasp on this bomb site. Merc already handling the basement ordeals that could possibly go down, trying to make sure that no nitro cell plate can come in and prevent a plant. And well, TSM locking up Mirage across the board. And this is just looking so strong right now, John. No real commitment here from Mirage. They can't try and move away from any of these positions. The EE1D starting to lock them up as well. Nyx will get a nice read onto Merc, but not before Bolo takes down loading. He'll go for 2. He'll be able to stop the plant as well. Nyx all of a sudden getting shot from behind, but it's from behind yet again as Achieve hops inside of Towels and will take him down with a simple pistol play.
Yeah, Nyx got a little crazy there towards the end with the triple kill. Really nice stuff from him, given what the round had played up to. That point in it, but regardless, up until that point, TSM was really fully in control. Didn't really seem like they were at much of a risk. I mean, we had all 5 of them on drones at one point inside of the building, and Mirage, unfortunately, just no aggressive play coming out from their setups, and what they did have didn't really align very well with the executes from TSM, so they weren't able to make much happen, and as a result of that relative lack of any aggression from their own side, TSM had all the time in the world to gather the intel they needed and eventually swing out onto the site, as we saw in those final few seconds.
That was an insanely clean execute from the droning to every detail that TSM had inside of that round right there was just extremely impressive. I want to see if they can try and recreate it, because this is something that especially inside of the earlier 2 games today, the initial 2, when I was talking to Skies back and forth about things, he was pointing out a lot of different ways and how people were droning and things like that. It's such an interesting thing, especially with what you were pointing out, the amount of people that you have on drone and just inside of the mid game trying to find intel to propel you forward inside of the round, get you to that mid game, start trying to get those picks and things like that, or forcing those misplays that allow Pojo to find those 2 initial frags.
Double trouble composition coming out again here for Mirage. I said the first time in this game. We've seen it in the past quite a bit, but we're starting to see it more and more as additional teams are starting to pick this strategy up to at least test it on quite a few sites. The reason why we call it double trouble is because normally in this type of a setting, you would only have to worry about the delay that would come from Smoke's utility, but now loading has been brought in on the Tachanka, now with a new kit. For those who may have not been actively following Siege over the past couple of years, he's not the big machine gun guy anymore. I mean, he is to an extent, but now he's also the incendiary grenade guy as well, and that can provide quite a bit of delay utility. Also, potentially blocking teams out of a site entirely if they try to execute with too low time on the clock.
He's like everything you want from a video game character in an FPS, right? It's like he's Russian, he has a big gun, and he shoots fire. I mean, what else could you possibly want from a single character? I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's like, you know...
Didn't know he was a dragon.
Yeah, that's true. You got me there. You got me there. But I mean, you might as well. He's basically like he looks like a character straight out of Borderlands when it comes to his elite as well. It's so insane, man. Such a great character design overall. But either way, I love that they're working him into the lineup and that he's seeing more play overall. Because for a long time, the reason that people love him so much is because he simply was a meme. It was just so difficult to use, and now that he's starting to see more pro play, it just makes me happy for the future of what you know, this character can do. But either way, Mirage seemingly so far very patient on their defense, and you can't exactly blame them with the amount of utility that we have been talking about. You know, bringing the Wamai, bringing the Jaeger to stem off the tide even more when it comes to these throwables, as well as obviously having to delay into Chonka and Smoke is going to make this very easy and limit things to TSM. More than likely force them into a, you know, very low time execute unless they're able to get a pick like this onto loading that could possibly allow Quartz to have some semblance of something over this round. But right now it looks to be TSM all over again to Quartz. Oh, he makes it work downstairs in office. The Nitro Cell call goes through and it comes off big with Bolo and Poge.
Huge Nitro coming out there from Quartz completely stops all the momentum TSM had built up to that point. But look at this nade play. 2 kills just in this round from frags coming out from TSM. Nyx, though, with a very nice follow-up, takes out Chala a second later. Merc is also just at a sliver of HP right now. The nades again are causing problems for Mirage. It's just a dance between these two teams. I have no idea who's going to come out on top. Achieved finally able to finish off Nyx after doing that nade damage to him a few seconds ago, and it's left it all up on Dream and Quartz now to clutch out versus Achieved and Merc. Mind you, Merc's still very low, like I talked about before, so he can't do much aggression here. That's all going to have to come from Achieved for the most part as he moves forward, and gets his head taken off by Quartz. Merc trades it, though, and now it's a 1v1. Merc with a sliver of HP is not enough as Quartz clutches it out instead.
I said they were gritty. Mirage find round 2 off a immaculate set of trades. What an incredible series of events going down inside of sight, but it was set off like a fuse from the Nitro Cell downstairs from Quartz. Great round there for Mirage to battle back up against TSM. They had their own plan devised. They didn't care what TSM was doing. They had their own stuff going on, and it went off with flying colors. Some fantastic plays here from Mirage. TSM, though, I mean, again, when it comes to grit, this squad right here, always trying to make a play. They don't slow things down. They keep the plays working. Achieve is able to get a frag grenade back, knock it down to the 3v3, translate that into the 2v2. I mean, it seems like we're going to get everything when it comes to this Coastline right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a round that was just from the individual players hunting down members of their opponent team with some really nice shots like the one we had from Nyx there in the middle of the round. Aside, next to, like, these crazy utility plays, Quartz getting the double on the Nitro Cell, the 2 frag, nearly a 3rd frag kill that comes in from TSM over the course of that round as well. These two teams are really giving it their all, and we're only in the 2nd round, or we were in the 2nd round of the matchup, heading into round 3 now. So time to see how this match is going to evolve and hopefully get even more exciting as we get deeper and deeper into the psych pool, now resulting on a kitchen hold on this round for Mirage.
I will withstand, or withhold rather, from singing Mirage's praises too much right now, but I'm very happy for, or very excited for how the rest of this series is going to go, because this right now is looking like a hungry Mirage, and that's exactly what we want to see from a squad like this. Remember, these guys are in 3rd place with a negative round win-loss. That's just so very impressive that they've been able to do this so far throughout the stage, but that looks like it might be changing up quite soon as Merc hits an absolute dime through the door and ends up taking down Quartz on his own Mira.
These nades are like magnetically attracted to Mirage, it seems, right now, as TSM can't seem to miss. Another down. Obviously, they haven't confirmed it just as of yet, and they are going to use the 2nd Merc nade here to try and finish the job off. Good Bank does it indeed, so no revive going on to Quartz. Once again, TSM take the early edge in a 5v4. Let's see how they move it from here, though, when they actually have to start setting foot in the building, and where, as we saw in the last round, Mirage could throw a lot more at them as well.
Well, a few drones down now for TSM, but they bag themselves a Quartz, and Probably the best thing they could honestly get besides Nyx. We saw him with some impressive play inside of the previous round, and luckily he's still alive for this one, at least for the time being, because things are getting quite drastic. Mirage are starting to lose members just willy-nilly to just random things, and ADS not here to try and cover the shield or burnt. Either way, it's going to be Dream down, but Loading finally able to find a frag. It's going to be on to Merc. He takes down the Yana. Big plays here, but still plenty of intel game across the board for TSM. And Merc, well, he already used his frag grenades to take down Quartz. So his worth already out the window, at least inside of that department. Loading now getting crunched on inside of the site. He needs help from his friends, but where are they? Nyx finally springs too. He'll take down Achieved. Holding on to Bathroom right now. Nitro Cell out. Can it get some damage and at least get something off? But now the EE1D reading out so many Mirage members. The last remaining two stuck inside of the Bathroom. Benji tries to sprint back into lobby. He'll make it, but now the case down. They're locked into this one. Some nice shots take down Bolo as he's up on the kitchen counter. Not going to get away with that one as of right now. Chala with the cross. New Benji worked his way into lobby. It's all up to Nyx once again. He's got the shotgun in hand. He'll get one. SMG 11 to work it up against Chala, the clutch king that we know from TSM. He's worked his way back outside of kitchen. Has the angle. Can use this at any moment to try and spring back in, and Chala finds the frag. Oh my, I feel like I'm at a LAN right now, man. This is such impressive play back and forth amongst these two. Chala does it yet again for TSM.
Such a close round once more. We're at the 4 frag kills in 2 rounds from TSM as well, as they are still on point with that. But away from that situation, Nyx with the near incredible 1vx comeback as he rushes into the bathrooms and tries his best to frag his way back into the site, only falling short in that final 1v1. Chala plays it smart, sits back and waits for the sound cue to play off of, and thankfully that goes right into his favor, netting TSM their second round, but nowhere near in control of this lead as of yet. Mirage should be able to bounce right back in the upcoming round with a strong stance themselves to see if they can maybe tie this up at 2-2.
That was such an impressive decision there from TSM. They get that initial frag onto, I believe it was Loading, or actually no, it was Dream sitting inside of kitchen that ends up catching that frag grenade. And as soon as that goes down, more than likely the thought came out from TSM of, hey, why don't we just hit the site? There's only one guy on there. We can strong arm it. We can hit from both sides. We have access. And that's exactly what they did. The only reason that Mirage were able to fight back in the first place is how quickly Nyx responded to the situation. The only thing past that would have been better is obviously somebody else in there to try and help their lone member in the first place. But obviously beggars can't be choosers. Mirage have an opportunity inside of the 1v1, but they simply can't get away with it this time.
Back to the double bar hold this time, as Mirage going to make another attempt at this hold. Just like the previous 3 rounds, this one was also a very close affair, so shouldn't be too much shouldn't be too much changing for the Mirage hold in an overall sense based on what we've already seen in previous rounds. Quartz, in fact, onto the Pulse here now, should be able to leverage his position downstairs. If he plays it the same somewhere around Office, be able to try and punish some of the early aggression from TSM if they try to swing in towards the Aqua direction, as we've seen them do before. 5 seconds left, though, before TSM spawn out, so let's focus on the moment-to-moment action, as there is a whole lot of it inside of this match to pay attention to.
Oh, that is absolutely hilarious. Obviously, we all saw what happened in that last round, that this site was selected for Mirage. TSM ends up getting blown sky high via Nitro Cell, and that's why the first thing they're going to clear is Office, and they already have a drone in here, and they know somebody's in here, and it happens to be the Pulse, and Pulse is now dead, so that was pretty easy. They're going to get a trade, though, as Benji gets it from upstairs inside of Aqua. So, well, 4v4 now. Quartz down, no more longer having a Pulse to be able to keep a bead on anyone's location from the offense, but you might as well switch that shoe onto the other foot, because Bolo's now down and Jackal's gone, but Achieved is going to make this even worse for the defense as he gets 2 out of nowhere. Loading gets 1. John, what is going on? TSM with 3 men up. Mirage down to 2. It's their only site players remaining, but actually, I believe that Loading actually over inside of, oh, actually, no, we're on Loading right now. Excuse me. There's been so much that's happened. Apologies. He's going to end up getting blown up by a nade from Merc as well. Dream now going to be the only one in sight. He tries to force his way all the way over towards kitchen, so actually not on site anymore. This will be a free plant attempt here for TSM, as well, Dream more than likely going to go by the wayside soon.
It's about to get fragged again.
can't deal with this, man.
Dude, I'm just laughing so hard because every time
is
TSM
ridiculous.
runs into a situation where it's like, it's a little bit difficult, they're like, let's just throw a frag grenade at it. And it's working every single time.
Oh man, it's like TSM's. It's like have you ever seen a redneck guide to fixing everything? It's duct tape and WD-40,
Yeah.
right? Theirs is like throw a frag grenade at it or just wait it out. Like that's really it.
They're getting like 2 frag kills around right now. Like, what's happening?
This is impressive, man. This is really impressive. This is like, I mean, not to make any NBA references here, but this is like 92, 93 Bulls, man. This is some impressive stuff. Like,
and the best part is like I'm not trying to beat up on Mirage so much, right? Because like they honestly can't do much about most of these frags that are being thrown at them, and
Dude,
they're still fighting back quite well, all things considered.
all I'm saying is the Chicago Bears could use some wide receivers. So if you guys are trying to catch anything else at all, no. I honestly though, Mirage are doing a very, very good job. I think that inside of that last round especially, that was like the purest form of TSM that we've seen inside of this map, probably. Like this team is just so aggressive and lethal when it comes to their adjustments, and they do not care about trading down. I think that's the biggest thing. There's something in chess that's like consolidating your pieces, right? And that's something that TSM seems to do a lot inside of their strategies here, is they really don't care if they trade out, because they know inside of those man down situations, they more than likely win every single time. This team is so unbelievably clutch that they really don't even care if they end up going down into a 2 versus 3, because they can probably end up getting out of it. It's just very impressive across the board.
Well, TSM on a bit of a heater right now, running the past few rounds in their favor. And we're going to have to see if they can continue all of that action. Mirage has already increased TSM's loss rate here by 20% on overall rounds, but you guys can increase your own win rate with the new TSM set, available in the store now for Mozzie. Go ahead and check that out. As you can see, the sales directly support TSM, so if you're a fan of them and you haven't already picked up the set, go ahead and check it out.
John, are you saying that your win-loss rate can go up just from buying this skin? Are you saying that these are pay-to-win skins, sir? Is that what you're
I don't
saying?
guarantee any results at all.
Yeah, but anyways, go to the store, guys. You need to check those out. They're amazing. And yeah, maybe some of them could make you feel better about your overall play. Maybe just possibly. If you just invest your money. You know, you can't make money if you don't spend money. So spend your money in the esports shop. I think I did that well enough.
You know, more money, more problems. So just spend some.
As Biggie Smalls once said, yes.
All right, that was
indeed
a bit of a reach there, but
listen, more money, more problems. So that's why you should give all of your money to me.
Try to make the boss happy, folks. You know. But either way, Bolo
we gotta pay
already
the bills
lined
too,
up.
guys. Anyways.
Bolo already lined up to counter this rotate, and Merc in the corner here too, so this could get messy on the cool vibe stairs. Only a few seconds into it. The problem is Merc not expecting an M590 to be right around the corner.
How do you do that as Yana? You literally have a hologram.
It was on cooldown. Didn't really catch it out of the corner of my eyes.
Yeah, but it's like 2 minutes. It's like 2 minutes.
I think it's more of a confidence thing more than anything for TSM at this point, right? It's like they're feeling themselves. They're willing to make plays like that. That's kind of like something they'll probably very quickly fix if that is what happened right there.
To quote myself, they're good at consolidating their pieces, and they're not scared to play man down. So we'll see if they're able to gun themselves out of a 3v5 situation, because Loading's also going to pick up one, and not only that, it's going to be on to Chala. So more of that info utility out the window, and arguably the most important set of it. Still have Bolo here, though, as well as Pojo currently manning the hookah door. They know Dream's locked up here, as that ADS has been burnt. Can't he get out? No, he cannot. Bolo will end up locking up too, as Benji tries to flick for the return, but return Descender instead. Send it back to the Postal Service. Ends up holding on to Vase, though, for Mirage, at least for VIP Hallway. As TSM coil around this, Nyx will go for the retake, and he is actually successful. Can't play it out properly, though. Ends up getting taken down on the shield as Achieve's trying to fight fire with fire. He's finally taken down, and it's Poj, the old man himself, back on TSM. The head coach in. Has a possibility to clutch up here against 2. Has one inside of Vase still. Has a stun as well, but oh, it's a beautiful crossfire. Rounds going off from both angles at the exact same time, and Mirage lock it up against TSM.
Mirage really scared of the aggression to come out from TSM right there. You could see all three of the remaining players they had in that final situation sitting right next to each other to be able to play off of trades. Led to at least one player having to poke out a bit too far behind that deployable shield. That's where we saw Pojo pick up his first kill on that action. Unfortunately, wasn't able to find safe harbor to move further towards the inside of Hookah itself, so he was left alone in the 1v2 with no easy way to push forward, and the end conclusion that you guys just saw a few seconds ago. Mirage, like we've said a few times here, are holding on quite well with that second round now going up on the board, and we're going to see if they can truly tie this up at the end of the half with another kitchen service defense coming up right now.
So another kitchen service defense. We're going to have loading on Warden now, so we'll see what that's going to change up. If they're just trying to do that to possibly counter a service take or something like that, we'll have to see. But either way, this half of play so far has been so very impressive from Mirage's standpoint, especially when it comes to how, Coastline plays overall usually. Usually this is a very offensive-sided map when it comes to it. You and I in the past have called it a teeter-totter. It really depends on what teams are on it, and I honestly still agree with that sentiment. And honestly, I feel like in these two right now, at least on the sides that they're currently on, are quite equal in what they're doing. It seems as though they both are getting, those fresh ideas round to round and making the adjustments necessary. It's just that one is just better in the round to round than the other, and it's just a trading game back and forth. I think this round right here is obviously going to be the big break inside of that. TSM can go to 4-2 here. Mirage can tie things up, but the side switch is really what I'm looking forward to right now. I think that they've really reached their maximum potential as to what's going to happen on this half, and obviously switching sides presents a whole new swath of issues.
So both teams will have to worry about that after this round, but for the time being, it's all a focus on trying to solidify this one final engagement. TSM obviously wanting to control the overall scoreline, and Mirage wanting to try and keep this as close as possible, so they'll be jumping onto the attacker side. Traditionally is slightly favored on this map, but statistically has switched as of late. Nice pick up there from Loading. Once again, close battle versus him and Bolo, and Mirage will take the edge as a result of winning that duel there, putting them in control in the early round here.
And Loading, a player that is just all of a sudden became a rock for Mirage this stage. We talked about his play quite a bit inside of stage 1 and how we wanted him to step up and see what he could possibly do, and he's been able to produce so much for this squad throughout stage 2 so far. It's been quite the impressive showing. But speaking of new blood coming into Mirage, or just new things happening overall, Quartz, the new face to the roster, now taken down via TSM. It's a 4v4 right now, obviously, as Bolo had been taken out earlier on. TSM trying to get rid of the shield inside of the kitchen. They'll do so with Merc's Gone 6, as they're looking for a possible plant attempt, or at least a push from this west side.
So I don't know, Loading's close to the front door here now, and that there's extended pressure towards that because of the run out he committed to a few moments ago. He's still a little low, so he's trying to play a bit more aggressive in hopes that he can try to out TSM and catch them in an unexpected move, maybe getting one more kill for him before he ends up getting traded in the late round. But either way, he has given away his position now, and unfortunately for him, there is no pressure really from TSM on that front side whatsoever. It's all focused on the kitchen window and the door leading into it, so quite the choke point that TSM will have to try and work their way past when they commit to the execute. In fact, you've still got players ready to fend that off if they walk into it. Merc, though, with a good find, opens that angle up quite a bit.
Oh no!
The frag grenades finally fight them back as they kill themselves with one of them. Still going to see the case go down onto the ground, though, and ultimately it could be a 2v2 if Pojo Man is able to find the time to get Shala up here. You see those members of Mirage pushing from the corner. They're going to be able to get him up in just in the nick of time, too, as those Mirage members are now arriving to the site to start their retake.
Oh, this is so troublesome, but luckily, last E1D here for TSM. Chala going to hold on to cool vibes. An adjustment here from Poj for a counter angle. More than likely going to play through blue. And yes, that's exactly what he's going to grab onto. Oh my! What an adjustment from Pojo, man. Reading Mirage like a book. He finds the angle of least resistance, ends up taking them down. Not a single contester of that one. And obviously, Chala with a makeshift tabletop from Vibes. It's going to give TSM the 4-2 split, although a very, very scary 4-2 split.
Yeah, I mean, a great recovery and great play overall inside of that round. They did not have a great number of angles to work with for the execute to begin with, and then they had a gap on their execute. They killed one of their players with a frag grenade and possibly saw another one go down as a result of that too. Didn't see exactly how that player ended up going down, but either way, they get the time they need post-plant to be able to retrieve that player, get themselves into those great positions, as you said, commit to that really nice rotate as well, and the way they handle the 2v2 itself after they get the first kill is just absolutely beautifully played. One peaks right after the other to guarantee, even if that first player gets traded, they've got that second kill secured on the round along with it. So a very well-deserved 4-2 scoreline going to go up on the board for TSM. I am curious, though, to see if Mirage can bounce back a little bit. They've been holding on and been making quite a few of these rounds incredibly close, so they still have a chance in this matchup, in my opinion, especially now that they're jumping onto the attacking side.
Yeah, the level of synergy that we're seeing from TSM is like, it's almost like best friend synergy. You know when you've been gaming with somebody for like so long, like 10 plus years, and you guys like don't even have to talk anymore? Like you just do stuff? That's TSM is moving so very quickly. They just know everything that everyone's doing, and it just looks beautiful on display. I mean, I'm just so very impressed with what they've been able to produce so far, especially with how Mirage are playing. I think that's the biggest thing here, because guys, Mirage is not playing poorly in the slightest bit. Not at all. They are playing so very well right now. Yes, there has been some mistakes, but there's been mistakes on both sides. That's Siege. That's just how the game goes. But, I mean, this has probably been some of the best showings up against TSM round to round that I've seen so far throughout the stage.
I mean, even just the rounds that Mirage have won, 2 picked up against TSM. I believe TSM had 4 lost rounds this stage prior to the start of this matchup. They've already increased the number of lost rounds TSM have had by 50%, if that stat is correct from my memory.
I mean, we can just use the low-hanging fruit. Speaking of which, Achieve's head looks pretty low there as, well, it's going to be on the ground for now inside of Beer. Taken down from the service door, but either way, yeah, the low-hanging fruit being TSM haven't lost a round in the last 2 weeks, and now Mirage have made that go up by an infinite number because you really can't times by 0.
Very, very true. Either way, though, things started a bit rough for TSM inside of this round, with Achieved going down in those first few seconds. Mirage, now with an advantage to play off of, are taking a bit of a careful step back themselves, trying to see if they can maybe leverage themselves a second one, while also paying mind to what we could be seeing coming out from the TSM roster in terms of regression to try to fight that back. Now, with that said, we don't have a whole swath of Mirage sitting on drones right now. They are actively participating in parts of the map, but what we're seeing, it's not leading to a whole lot as of yet. The trades come in from Bolo. We're back to an even fight at a 4v4. I'm really just waiting for Mirage to make the next move, which seems to be coming in from the pool door closer to Sunrise site now.
Well, it's an absolute war zone inside of B right now for Chala as explosions continue to go off. He'll get droned out by yet another one. Floor edges drones, but this one will be shot, so it won't get rid of anything in that area, and Benji's also going to get a frag in the meanwhile. That's Pojo man down, and Mirage starting to push forward. They know that they can force this plant. Their man up, Nitro Cell out. Can they get it shot? It gets stuck to the ceiling. Chala with a misplay. He doesn't know what to do. He freezes up, and now all of a sudden TSM are simply down to Bolo. Can the guy do it? He can't get it done. Oh no, TSM fall apart at the seams inside of that round, and Mirage, a hell of an offense. They have every single avenue shut down from TSM. They simply cannot cross across Sunrise to try and prevent the plant. It was up to the utility, and they no longer had any of it.
It takes them a moment to find the weak spot, but when they do, they execute upon it very, very quickly. And TSM, unfortunately, is not able to fend that off in the way that they would have liked, specifically with the use of their Mira sitting on the back corner there. We saw the Nitro Cell go off unsuccessfully. That was pretty much the end of days there for TSM's defenses that allowed Mirage to work their way in without too much utility delaying them out. And from that point forward, TSM, unfortunately, as you were saying, just did not have the positions necessary to fight off against that, allowing Mirage to take that control. And Bolo in the 1vx, as you saw, had a brutal crossfire against him, so the clutch just wasn't going to happen there. TSM still with the lead, but now only by 1 round. Mirage is about to tie it if they can find success on their second attack coming up now.
Yeah, and they're going to go away from double bar. Can't exactly blame them as for how fast we saw Mirage get set up there. That one's possibly been ran a couple of times there, John. They might have dry ran that one maybe once, Possibly twice, that's all I'm saying. But either way, we're going to be headed upstairs now instead for hookah billiards. TSM are going to be changing things up just a little bit. They're going to be bringing Bolo on this one. Doesn't really have the Nitro Cell influence from down low, but the beauty of the Vigil being that ERC7 backpack, Bolo's allowed to go to places of the map that others simply cannot. So we'll see if he's able to poke a hole through Mirage's drone game and possibly find some early frags.
With the round getting started, Mirage once again will begin the process of poking in against TSM's defense and trying to find the weak spot here. You're already going to see some of that working its way towards the master bathroom, but as you may have noticed there, we've already got some resistance from a TSM in position to stop that. This being Bolo right now watching both the Hall of Fame as well as that master bath drop. Will likely have to get in the way of at least one of these players clearing. Bolo, actually, I'm not sure if the wall behind him is, I don't believe it's reinforced, so has to be a bit careful of shots coming through the rappel and a little bit more careful of shots coming from the Hall of Fame. Nyx takes Bolo down outright. Loading's going to start checking to the inside of the main stair window as well, where you will get a Nitro thrown in him by Achieve, but is able to very easily dodge out of the way of that, leaving Achieved with an exposed position that he can't maintain. And no! Merc had the engagement against Benji, had the advantage even, but Benji somehow able to turn that back around, and it's Mirage with the outright advantage now at a 5v3.
It's the magnified scopes. That's what it is. It has to be. No, Mirage are playing so very well right now. Great picks onto Bolo, great pick onto Merc, and starting off with a 5-3 advantage. Even before the halfway mark here, rest of TSM for the most part at least back onto site. The only straggler being Achieved, who's currently standing in kitchen hallway, seeing if there's really anything that he can get done, which isn't going to be all too much, especially since he is Nitro Cell down or either stuck on something. Nitro Cell out is going to get Chalo 1 and, well, going to give away his position for the time being, and that's the good news. Yes, can still push into him, but the bad news is it's mute. SMG-11 or M590, either of those up close, not necessarily the gun that you want to tango with.
Chala, they get a bit of confidence now. Uses that to swing out back to the site, but he will get spotted by a drone on the way back, meaning that we should see Mirage take full control of Aqua for the next few seconds. They don't realize, though, that that was actually the player that fell back a few moments ago, so they're still going to use some of their utility and fragging out behind the bar just in case he was still there. TSM holding on for the time being as they pick up one kill, but there we go. Benji and Dream trading it back out into their own favor. Achieve the last player standing, and not for very long. Mirage take round 8 and tie up the match.
This is just so very impressive right now from Mirage. They've been able to operate throughout both of these last rounds in man-up situations, and that's the biggest thing. TSM aren't able to do the very drastic things that they want to anymore because they don't have the people to do it. We talked about it earlier, how they don't care about trading down. Well, the problem is right now is, well, they're not trading. They're simply dying, and you can't just simply die when you want to trade. So TSM still are able to get themselves out of certain scenarios. We saw it when Mirage are trying to get onto site. They're still finding their frags. But since Bolo and Merc weren't able to have any influence over that round at all, Mirage ended up winning the round.
6 pick there coming out specifically from Mirage to talk about that one, as we are going to incorporate some hard breach into the lineup this time for Mirage. Should be interesting to see how that plays out, just because this site specifically, the hard breach usually doesn't end up being a make or break, but those extra angles being opened up, especially over here if it ends up being by like the barrel's position or somewhere into the bathroom, even on that rotate right there, that's a very huge angle that could get opened up by the attack, especially if TSM don't end up expecting that hard breach to come into play and could cause a gaping hole in TSM's defense, especially if we come down to like a sub 20-second execute or something like that. So pay close attention to that and how it could affect the late round here.
Great diagnosis, Doctor.
Thank you.
Dr. Blue. But round 9 now, my friend. Been through 8 of these now. 4-4 for Mirage. And I believe they're almost to the point where they've gotten as many rounds as TSM has lost this season. I believe it's 4 or 5.
I think it was 4.
Oh, so even farther now. This is absolutely absurd. I want to go back to the sales pitch. That's what I want to go back to. You know, Mirage are a gritty team, folks, and they are going to continue to battle. Now, the thing that I want to bring up to you guys is actually Chala getting some frags inside a bathroom, and trades now once again happening. Dream's going to get Pojo. Benji gets yet another one. The secondary shotgun comes out for the second time to get today. Chala finds a frag. Bolo gets yet another, and, well, it's now a 3v2 in favor of TSM, as they've lost quite a few members to trying to take control of service. Won't even let me finish my analysis. But at this point in time, it doesn't really matter. Mirage locked outside of the building after TSM are finally able to get some frags on the board.
Rush plays definitely back on the menu as Mirage tries to throw another one at us inside of this round. Ultimately being stopped by TSM, though. And now not loading, and Nyx trying to figure out some way to work themselves back into the building. Now dealing with a 2v3 deficit here. Loading has worked himself all the way over towards office and should be able to get in here without too much of a conflict, but with all the noise he's made, he said we'll be well aware of that fact, and Nyx will have to pull off the same feat a few seconds later. He was just keeping Overwatch on the kitchen window to catch any aggressive rotates. Now Loading, good duel being taken specifically against the player holding the front lobby for TSM, but no damage coming out from that one. Nyx is only just now re-entering towards Sunrise Bar, but this is starting to build up towards a workable attack position, most notably for our two attackers here. There's still a minute and 20 seconds to go. They've got a lot to work off of, but not a lot of HP left on Loading anymore, it seems. Nyx now is alone in the 1v3. Has to try and come out with some sort of a clutch here, but once again, just like so many rounds in the past, this is looking desperate to say the least here, as this is a very, very tough crossfire he now has to push past.
And this has been such a quick round. Still has a minute on the board to play with, but it's really been done from the jump here. Merc's going to get the last two frags to wrap it up with a bow for TSM, but finally, TSM are able to find a defense after they were stuck out in the cold for 2 rounds there. Although for Mirage, the thing I wanted to talk about earlier, the score line across the board for them is still looking eerily similar to how they usually score. We have a couple of people positive, but for the most part, it's even in negative. And that's a very big deal when it comes down to it. We don't see teams be this scrappy usually and end up being not only that, but taking it to TSM and this form of TSM. I mean, there's just so many different things going on here for this team. I have not been this impressed in a very, very long time. This is amazing stuff. We're going to have a 6 pick away from Flores to Habana, so dropping some utility, but doubling up on the hard breach.
All right, let's take a look and see if Mirage can rebound once again. Try and tie things up at a 5-5 scoreline and take us potentially all the way to OT, if not outright victory for them, or if TSM is looking to reassert that control for themselves. We've got Mira, we've got Echo, and it's all going to be coming down to a theater play here as well. So there's a lot of utility, but Lucy in the picture here also for Achieve. So this is a lot for Mirage to work their way past, and it's going to be in a very condensed package more than likely inside of this site too. So will be very interesting either way, regardless of who wins this round, to see how Mirage try to piece this apart.
Yeah, only positive person right now for Mirage is Loading at 8 and 6. Everyone else is even or negative right now, and it's 5-4 up against TSM. And you know, you look across over to the TSM camp, and it's quite similar, right? Like we got Shala, we have Poge and Bolo all kind of in the even/negative area, and then Achieved and Merc on top with a couple more kills rather than the other party. But for Mirage, it's very spread across. I just love what this team is doing. It's really showing up inside of the scoreboard on like the style of play that they're going for. But either way, still have quite a few offenses to go through here, and it starts now inside of round 10. TSM have finally woken up on their defenses, have procured this previous round, and have shifted the goalposts. We're now inside of Penthouse, a site that we don't particularly see too often, but we've been seeing more often nowadays, which feels honestly great to say. It's something that we didn't see, you know, for a very long time. Really started at the beginning of the map, and then once people figured it out, not too much afterwards. And it looks like TSM are also going with a unique setup to this as well. We've seen some new takes on this, like a vase angle through those two soft panels, and now a Mira getting dedicated here by Poge. But Mirage are going to have the lead yet again as they'll take down Bolo.
And a strong stance, and yeah, we've got a plant attempt going down for Dream right now. Quartz has been able to leverage a second. Now the plant attempt was stopped. Merc also adding another kill onto the counter for TSM here, but they're still down by one player here. Quartz making his second attempt at the plant now. We'll see if this one will end up being successful. He has a lot of support, specifically from the window from Loading, and Loading, what a shot to take out Merc just as he peeked over the top of him. Case now down on the ground. Also, Shala alone, but he does take out Loading on the retreat. Problem is, though, that plant is long gone, and these are going to be some harsh angles to try to retake from, especially when he has to finally touch the case. But the good news for Shala, he knows where both players are positioned at. He's got all the intel he needs, just has to play it out appropriately, and that's the difficult part. He's got players outside, he's got players at harsh angles. He's going to try to swing this one, but he can't win the fight. Benji gets it instead, and Mirage tie us up again at 5-all.
Do you smell that? Because it smells like overtime to me. I think that's where we're going. You know, this is, wow, man. So Mirage have single-handedly doubled the amount of rounds that TSM has lost inside of stage 2. That's unprecedented. That's so very impressive. TSM, though, I mean, they're looking great. That round right there, I mean, fantastic stuff there for Mirage. They get control of the two, avenues that they wanted. They are able to get control of Penthouse window as well as VIP. There's not too much influence that TSM can have on that area from that earlier pick that we saw. Mirage really limiting them to kind of the theater hallway as well as like the theater area, and not really letting them rotate away from that space. And anytime that they did, that's where we started to see the picks ensue yet again for Mirage. Obviously, it comes down to the 1v2. Some nice play from Chalo there to push the angle onto loading, but it really didn't mean all too much. He almost was able to find a frag onto Sledge as well, but we all ended up seeing how that went down. So TSM back to the drawing board. They're no longer going back to Penthouse. Instead, they're going to go to Hookah Billiards.
All right, so starting to get close to the end here now for both of our teams. It's do or die time for TSM to try and close this out in regulation, as both teams will now need 2 consecutive rounds to trigger it here, as well as getting a full spread of 3 points for this matchup. Otherwise, it's to OT, where you can get only that 2-point win, and obviously your opponent will be getting the 1 point for the loss. But team that's lagging behind right now, they'll want to be hunting for that 1 point regardless if they can try to take it all the way there. But definitely would want the 3 if they can get it. Merc going to take some heat early on. I believe an unfortunate crossover towards the pull door leaves him with quite a bit of damage on him, although it looks like he was able to return a little bit of it. Oh, no. What is that angle? Benji from way outside, going all the way through blue bar, I believe, as well, takes down the first player from TSM.
So that bad boy right there cuts off the bottom of Vibe stairs, John. So if you don't want someone to exist inside of Sunrise, you just shoot right through that wall and hold the angle, because you can't leave. So yeah, that's a nice little early pickup there from Mirage, especially on just the quick angles. That's the big thing there. Mirage using team play rather than just trying to force, one avenue or one area and trying to get Benji just find a frag inside of the actual Sunrise area. Instead, using that counter, making Merc move and able to find that frag because of it. But now, down below 2 minutes here, it's slowed down across the map as Mirage are trying to get an inkling as to what's going on around the area. Achieved, still roaming across over towards White, able to pick up a drone and has a possibility to get on some flanks here, but he's going to get immediately picked up as Nyx was simply just waiting for someone to try and pressure early, and he'll be able to bag himself yet another in TSM. Worse for wear going into the half.
So quick from Nyx right there. TSM growing a bit more timid as they try to work their aggressive positions into something, but every time they try to throw it out against Mirage, they're catching it, especially as of these past few rounds here. Looking better and better for our attacking squad. Maybe try and take this outright. The opportunity presents itself to him. Chala, though, with a great opportunity himself, but oh no! The explosive drone, he has to go on a mad dash to get out from that. Not far enough, though, as he's going to get 2 kills fed right to him with the shotgun. Pojo gets a 3rd. Everything has twisted all of a sudden here, and just like that, it was a 5v3 a few seconds ago, and now everything is on loading. And the question mark from Pojo Man in the chat. I can't believe it.
I am at a loss for words, but we have to finish up this cast, or at least this round. Loading now into the 1 versus 3. He's going to get Echo droned. He's more than likely questioning his own team as well right now. The Echo drone goes to the floor. He's keeping track of Loading's positioning from under the billiards table. This is more than likely going to be a swing momentarily, but instead they're waiting out on the timer. Waiting for the next sonar blast. He saw someone on the edge. Bolo catching a glimpse of Ash will remove her from play. We'll just say that. TSM absolutely murk Mirage.
Very, very well played by TSM. And even that's an understatement, to be completely honest with you. Beautiful handling specifically of the cool vibe situation. The double kill going right into their favor. Mirage think they've cleared that player out. Clearly not, as the explosion radius of that drone's pretty tiny. So unfortunately, it hasn't forced the player out that far. He's still able to hold from the top of cool vibes and pump 2 quick shells into his opponents for 2 quick kills as well. TSM now on match point.
I'm just wondering why Mirage thought he was going to sprint that far away in the first place, I guess. Because, like, the only other place he's going to play is Vase, and as soon as that goes off, he's more than likely going to swing the staircase. You know what I mean? So, you know, and especially when it comes to that M590, that's probably the last weapon that you want to try and deal with inside of that close of range. So for Mirage, I like the idea. I love what they did there with the Flores drone dropping in and all of that. Super smart strategy. Very well thought out. But, you know, if you have somebody there with an M590 and they're able to just double back, you're more than likely going to run into having that 2K issue a lot, simply because that shotgun is allowed to do that. It just one-shots you in that close of range. So fantastic play there from Chala. He knew exactly what to do inside of that position, and for a lot of people, you can't say the same. That exact series of events could have happened, and Mirage could have forced their way upstairs, and we have exactly the opposite scoreline. You know, 6-5 going Mirage's way.
All right. So let's see here. Can TSM get it done with another incredible round on their defensive side, or will Mirage recenter, tie us up again to trigger OT? There's the question going into the final round of regulation. The last chance for Mirage to hold on and try to get at least 1 point out of this matchup if they can trigger OT for themselves. If TSM win at 7-5, they get nothing for all their troubles, despite how well fought it was today for them. Taking a look at the early action, though, TSM, no surprise we see them spread out and somewhat aggressively postured to try and prevent any action from Mirage in this first minute or so.
Not want to allow them to get a foothold on this map, but Merc, all of a sudden red out, almost ends up losing his life, or at least a little health, is loading. It's already playing white window and had some insight as to where his position was. For Mirage, though, they're going to begin working on the northeast side of the building and specifically start working on the VIP area and this black mirror currently inside of theater. Charlotte trying to get a nitro cell out. Doesn't get any damage off, luckily enough for him, but now Mirage well in the driver's seat. Already took Pojo down, who was playing the far side, and right now it's left up to Achieved, who's holding on to theater.
Achieved, unfortunately, going to have a gaping hole in the back of his setup now, just due to that nade getting shoved in there. Dream, though, able to leverage that kill. Also Achieved, losing his position. OT is looking more and more likely, but remember what happened on the very last round. This same situation was put before Mirage, and they weren't able to close it out. This ultimately went into the hands of TSM, so you do not want to count them out of any of these situations. Merc trying to get aggressive, seems to have the lineup, but loading so hard to catch. He gets another kill instead, and now we're just down to Bolo and Chala.
Tries to stick it at the door, but Merc, unluckily enough for him, does not have enough ammo inside of that Roni magazine to get it done. Bolo's starting to look for frags now, as well as they've entered playmaking mode, tossing nitro cells out for sound cues and everything else, just try and confuse the offense and get something done. But finally, a frag falls to TSM, but it's only inside of the 1v5, make it a 1v3 for Chala. With the double kill so far inside of the round. He's looking for yet another. This man's so dynamic in his play, just lethal when it comes down to it. Looking for another frag here. Knows someone has to be pressuring stalls, but doesn't have the angle. Nyx pushing forward to hold the rotate. I'm going to lock it down finally as TSM taken to overtime for the very first time inside of stage 2.
All right, Quartz. Quartz trying to throw the question mark back at Pojo after they get revenge on that round and trigger OT. Meaning, once again, just a quick update on how this will affect the points. Both teams will get at least 1 point out of this match, regardless of the outcome now, but the winner will get 2. 3 more rounds will decide it. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 of those rounds gets the points for today. The majority of them, at least. It's back up to hookah and billiards, as Mirage still going to be on the defense here as they take the first round at OT.
Okay, so TSM timeout as we enter overtime. Perfect time to use it here is, well, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. That's what they say. Well, for TSM, luckily enough for them, they're starting on the offensive side. And as we saw from their offense, this is definitely their better half. Mirage seems to have a fantastic offense as well. Their defenses, I'd say, were a touch stronger than TSM's at some points. I definitely like the playmaking more from what we saw from Mirage. But TSM, obviously, being themselves, had a lot of very, very good rounds like what we saw previously. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing is here is that none of us are shocked that TSM are playing this well. I think that the big thing here is obviously Mirage have forced TSM to OT. So it's up to them to try and change this storyline and possibly change the future of what Stage 2 has to hold.
TSM took a very much needed tactical time out for themselves here before they jump into OT. It's a very different beast now that you're in this extended time. So TSM needing to take a step back, a breather as well, and figure out what's been going wrong in the moment-to-moment action and how they might be able to quickly fix things, getting ready to jump back in the first round of OT. Remember, they're still an attack after all here as well, so Time to see if they can once again come out on top of this situation in order to get a very much needed lead coming off the first round of our overtime.
Well, looks like we're headed back up to Hookah Billiards here for Mirage. Not too much of a change up in the overall arcing plan, it seems. Grim's going to take a little bit of a damage from an impact, but not going to be too big of a deal. Looks like across the board, though, they're going to be going for what they went for the first time. Excuse me, that we ended up defending this site. Had courts downstairs and ended up getting that nitro cell off that really had a beneficial thing going on for Mirage for the rest of the round. Obviously, when you're up 2 men, it's very difficult to try and fall back down into that round and end up losing it. So we'll see if they're able to get away with it once again, but we saw how TSM ended up answering that later on. So, you know, it's a really big question mark as to how these teams start out this OT.
We get that answer though over the next 3 minutes here. TSM once again going to be spending probably quite a bit of this first minute or so trying to analyze the setup for Mirage just to make sure they don't leave anything unaccounted for. That's what's been catching TSM more often than not, are those unaccounted players that sneak behind them and set up for those sneaky peeks. Not to mention the fact that Mirage are outright challenging TSM in a lot of these fights, and to be fair to Mirage, are winning quite a few of them. TSM seems to have been dominant in that part of their game over the past couple of weeks, but not so much inside of this specific matchup. Courts, though, starting us off right for Mirage once again as Bolo stands right on top of a Nitro, none the wiser to it, and becomes the first victim in this round.
Fantastic play there from Cords. Had the audio of Bolo stopping around upstairs and ends up finding that big play. Takes down the Jackal early on here. It's definitely going to assist the rest of the defense and being able to exist in some outskirts of the map, but more than likely not, as we are indeed on Coastline. Still have Chala and Merc, though, for that info department. Merc still having frag grenades as well as Achieved, and we've been seeing how TSM have been using those today. They've almost had like a 90% accuracy with these things, it seems, is more than likely going to be using those on Vase anytime soon. But they don't really have too much of a hold across this map just yet. Chala currently flirting with the idea of taking control of Aquarium. Mirage and the rest, or Nyx and the rest of the squad, still spread throughout the map. Not moving too much on the basement level either, simply waiting to see what they can possibly get done with those nitro cells. Frag grenades out for Merc. He'll deal a little bit of damage, but more than likely get rid of his shield in the process as well, but definitely confirms the mute jammer.
Well, last minute of the action coming up here. TSM still trying to use their grenade magic. We'll have to admit that it's fallen off quite significantly since what we saw from it at the beginning of the game, and all these kills seem to be going the way of Mirage. Achieved, I jinxed myself a little bit there. Able to get one frag kill up on the board here against loading, but it's a small gesture in the grand scheme of things. Chala and Achieved, Chala can't even move forward right now, and Achieved wouldn't dare push in that doorway on his own. So these guys are just stuck right now, waiting out that smoke charge. The problem is, another one's going to blow up right now. So Dream has once again held off the line again. Achieved really doesn't have a choice. He has to try and push forward, but it's almost a death sentence for him to do that. So TSM just have no option to play with right now. Dream will actually surprisingly get full flashed out right there. Courts immediately shuts Chala down upon moving in, and the same fate will befall Achieved. A solid first round defense goes up on the board for Mirage, and they're 1 point away from winning this match.
Okay, so this is where things get scary for TSM for the very first time. It's a losing scoreline right now for TSM, and I don't know the last time that we've been able to say that. That's very impressive from Mirage right now. 7-6 currently, and taking it to the Titans of NA this stage. Right now, Mirage have an opportunity to take this all on this offense. It's going to be the double bar defense here from TSM after Mirage have an immaculate defense of Hookah, able to find the early picks onto TSM and a bunch of different ways. They're getting these frags and the early picks, especially off of utility. We've seen that time and time again from these defenses that they've been successful at, that it usually starts early on with a nitro cell or just something along those lines where they're able to find some utility to influence the round. Just impressive stuff right now, but it all comes down to this round. Can they close it out, or can TSM stay alive?
Well, let's take a look and find out here. Usual rotate's going to be set up for TSM once more inside of the double bar site. No surprises so far with regards to their setup. We still have the usual mirror window setup being deployed by Chala. He's going to make a little mini bunker for himself behind that sunrise wall leading into blue. Away from that, we should expect a bit of reinforcement to come towards an extended position. Right now, that's looking pretty heavily leaning towards kitchen, although we have seen upstairs play from TSM in the past. Not sure if we got much of that on this round, though, so we'll check back on that a bit later. And there we go. It's much more leaned towards the theater hold this time for them, instead of trying to play over here above the site, over towards hookah billiards.
Extend it out, have Mirage try and push into your setup, see if you can delay time or get a couple of picks in your favor. As we've been talking about throughout this, TSM have been so good when it comes to getting the initial picks and playing off of those. Not scared to trade down when it comes down to it. And speaking of trading down, Merc looking to get aggressive early on. He's already taken some damage inside of Office, as he'll be playing a deployable shield here for the time being, but he does indeed have someone in tow. And this is where Flores is starting to find more influence. And still immediately put in one of those explosive drones, takes out the shield, and forces TSM into a pretty crappy situation when it comes down to it in Office. These crosses, not very safe, and Nyx makes the play. Oh no, Merc and Pojo have both been taken down. They're locked up. No ADS is in there to try and assist with anything that was going on for any explosives, but that wouldn't even have mattered. The drone got it instead, and TSM simply could not cross. It's up to the remaining 3 now to try and keep them alive.
TSM will need to pull out a Herculean feat once more. We have seen them do it earlier in this matchup, and that's a good start as Bolo catches Nyx after he has a great start to this round. It's a tad over-aggressive, thinking that Aqua would have already been cleared out. Bolo capitalizes upon that, trades him out finally, and now Achieved with a chance to equalize. It fails, unfortunately. Quartz gets a very important kill against Achieved, brings us down to a 4v2. Bolo's taking some heat also, as he's now at right around 50 HP. Chala, the only full player left, and mind you, Chala's position is not 100% secure either. There's plenty of ways for Chala to get hurt pretty easily, and now he's the only player left, stuck in a 1v4 as he's lost his only support in Bolo. The entire team is about to start bearing down from Kitchen. They won't even get the chance to shoot Chala, as instead it's going to be the flank from Kitchen that shuts it down. Mirage take the W in overtime versus TSM.
Wow. Mirage ends up taking out the #1 team in North America, TSM. Finally have their first loss, and not only that, but they have 8 more round losses on their record. What an impressive feat here from Mirage. They knew exactly what they had to do today, and at the very beginning of this, John, I said, Mirage, they're a gritty team. I think this is actually going to be a pretty good map, because somebody that is in the 3rd place position with a singular round as their differential, negative by the way, -1 round, and a scoreline like that, you can't say that that team is not scrappy. They fight every single round down to just, you know, the tooth and nail battle between these two. I mean, just such impressive stuff. And that's why they've gotten this win today. They're making the plays. They're doing the things that they want to do. They're not forcing, or being forced rather, into a play style or a pace that they're not ready for.
And it's not even a fluke either. It's not like TSM suddenly dropped the ball here today.
No.
TSM, in fact, were on fire at the beginning of this matchup. They had 4 nade kills inside of 2 rounds. I think they had 6 and 3. So they were at one point averaging like 2 nade kills a round. They were executing some of the members of Mirage on some of these rounds. So TSM was playing incredibly well inside of this matchup. But despite that fact, Mirage still end up taking the win in overtime. They fight it out. They figure out the counters to TSM's strategy. They get quite aggressive themselves, as we were seeing towards the end of it there. And they end up coming out as the superior team. A very well won and very well fought matchup by Mirage and TSM as well, but ultimately into the favor of Mirage. That's going to be a huge win. They're going to be very happy about the way they played today for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, you have to give it over to TSM as well. I mean, the squad has been looking amazing so far throughout the season, and to finally get shut down by such a young and spry squad like Mirage, you know, you can't exactly just hold your head in your hands. I mean, you played the best game you could, and honestly, they gave us probably the best map that we've seen so far throughout this stage. But I think you guys have heard enough from John and I, so that's going to do it for us. But don't go anywhere, because there's some beautiful people over on a desk that would love to have a conversation with you.
Thank you, Stokes and Blue, and with the replays brought to us by the wonderful people over there at Predator. Mirage did it, fellas. They knocked out TSM, and their hot streak is finally over, and Mirage are looking great. We said in the pre-show, we love this team. We didn't think they were there yet, and they just proved all of us wrong right here on Coastline.
It's so nice to see. I mean, it does make me 0-4 for predictions for the days, and that stings a little bit. But ultimately, to see TSM finally go up against an opponent causing them troubles, to see TSM go up against a team that they don't 7-0 is an incredible feat. To go all the way to overtime for Mirage, I think this was a huge statement game for them. They really are a serious team in the NAL, and you know, just losing hot and cold, that doesn't mean they're out of it just yet.
And Skies, you said Coastline is the team where, I mean, the map where good teams go to die.
Right.
Is that the case here?
I think Coastline was one of those kind of coin flip maps, but I think I don't want to discredit Mirage. I think Mirage played an amazing game, and TSM did as well, but Mirage was just the better team today.
Yes. Now, Jesse, Quartz. That boy Quartz showed up in a big way. Once again, as always, I'm used to it at this point. What did you like from his gameplay today?
I mean, I just loved how impactful he was on a couple of rounds. It wasn't every single round. There were a couple times where I was definitely wanting more from him, but there were a few that he just owned entirely. That first round that Mirage won, you know, the huge C4 and then 2 more kills at the end there. It really felt like when he was having an impact, he ran the entire show, and it definitely felt like this was a step up for him. It felt like so far in the first couple of weeks, that's a fantastic freeze frame. Thank you, my wonderful camera for dying there. Yeah, but it felt like the first couple of weeks, you know, he was struggling quite a bit, at least in that kill department. But today he was on. He was really the player to watch in my mind, and he stood out as a star player that we haven't seen from him since last year. So I love that.
Jesse, one day we'll work in person, so the freezes won't be a thing. Skies, from your mouth, you wanted to talk about Mirage, and you said when they came here on Coastline, they were playing just relentless. They weren't scared. The confidence was through the roof. What could be the reasoning for that?
Right. I think one of the big reasons that Mirage did so well today, again, I think Coastline was a part of it, but the biggest thing was they played with complete confidence. They were not afraid of the Titans of TSM. They were completely confident. They matched their tempo to a T, and they played their game. They didn't play TSM's game. They played their game, and they were ready for TSM's aggression.
Yes. Now, we actually have an interview with Loading from the winning team on Mirage. And Jesse, I'm going to pass you the mic to go ahead and have you fun this time around. Let me see what you can do.
All right, thank you very much, Valley. I'll jump into it again. Loading, congratulations, my friend, on the big win, taking out TSM. How does it feel?
Feels great. They're definitely one of the biggest hurdles, especially when they're on such a hot streak. So great to get 2 points out of it. Could have been nice to have 3, but glad to have 2, to be honest.
So, Loading, I mean, you had a tough last game, you know, against Space Station. This match, I'd say you did fantastic. A huge step up. For you personally, what was the difference between that last matchup and now this one?
Ash is just super easy. No, I'm just kidding. You know,
yeah.
I said it in actually a Northern Lights episode. I think SSG has kind of always gotten in my head personally. They're big. Yeah, they're just such a juggernaut. They're a tough task to handle, and I don't feel that way about TSM. I said even on their best days, they seem beatable. I've choked on those words a little bit because of the past few play days by them, but yeah.
Yeah? Well, I mean, you put your money where your mouth is today. You definitely, they're beatable now. We know that for sure. For you guys, I mean, Mirage, in my mind, have always been this team of misfits. You know, with this win, you get back to this top 4 spot like you did last stage, but now there's a major on the line. What would it mean for you guys to be able to go to Mexico and to be able to play on such a huge stage?
For me personally, it mean a lot. Majors have always been a goal of mine. I think right now as a team, getting to a major is definitely like a short-term goal, and then that helps us a lot with getting to our main goal, which is invite, which we've put ourselves in a pretty good spot here for with the points we're gaining.
Of course. Yeah, you're doing fantastic so far in the year overall. I've got one more question for you. That game really felt like the match where Quartz was able to step up and really have a stellar performance. You know, teaming with him now, he's the new player on your roster. What's it like playing with Quartz as a teammate?
Well, I've played with him for about a year now because we were both on the old roster.
Yeah.
He's definitely a gunner, capable of going off and clutching up rounds. You saw that in round 2. I think he clutched up, or round 1, one of them. Really kind of helped us set the pace for the game. So it's great to have him. I'm glad he's on the roster, and now that he's settled in a bit more, can't wait to see what he does.
Yeah, well, Loading, I mean, you and your team have done fantastic this stage. Thank you so much for talking with me. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the fans, to the friends and family watching at home before we close this interview up?
Yeah, just to everyone, thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. Keep making us the underdog. I think that fires us up, me personally at least. But yeah, thank you all for the support. I really do appreciate it.
Well, I mean, Loading, you keep winning games like this, you're not going to be the underdog for too much longer. But thank you so much for talking with me, man. We'll head back to the studio with Veli and see what they thought of that interview.
All right,
we cut him off. If Loading could hear me, Loading, I love you too, man. But let's take a look at the stats right now. 8-6 on Coastline. TSM finally taking a big loss after blowing out just about everybody in the league, right? They looked unstoppable. Not today. Charlotte's going to be on top for TSM. 12-10 stat line, but for Mirage, that's what matters right now. Nasty Nick's on top. 14 kills, 12 deaths. He was the player to watch, but also Loading, who was in the interview, was another one that I called out. 12-10 for the day. Shout out to Benji as well. It was nothing but money. 13 kills, 9 deaths. I mean, we could go on. The whole team did well. They all did their job. Skies, anything you want to call out from the looks of the stats page right now? Because the opening kills looks insane for Mirage.
I was just going to say that the biggest thing I talked about at the start of this game was TSM
Thank you,
was
Skies.
very,
Jesse,
very
how you feel about the opening kills from Mirage?
Well, Veli, I'm a big fan of I don't know what's up with Skies, but I'm a big fan of stats here from Mirage. Are we back?
Yeah,
With
sorry
Skies,
about
all
that.
right, we back.
Go ahead.
Skies, talk to me, baby.
My mic had muted itself. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, the biggest thing I talked about in the beginning of this game was TSM was so dominant on the opening kills, and in that match, Mirage dominated them. So I think that's a big reason why TSM fell short today, but Mirage, man, they looked insane. Nyx's performance, he stepped up on that entry role, and his IGLing was great. Mirage just looked like a completely consistent team again. They looked like the team they've looked like all seasons, besides for their SSG game.
Right. Now, Jesse's definitely used this. Jesse, I'm gonna let Skies try first, right? Because we've always failed this. Skies, at the end of the day, we name a MVP. By the way, shout out to Mirage for winning that last game. That was big, yeah. But to close out the day, we have an MVP for the day. And throughout all the performances that you saw, who do you think is going to be named that?
MVP for the day, man. I'd probably have to go with hot and cold.
Okay, Jesse, who you got, baby?
I mean, Space Station were the only team that I think really ran a train on their opponents today, so I would agree it's probably going to be hot and cold, but there are some other gunners today.
All right, Choo production, feel free to throw it up on the screen. Let's see what the MVP is for Playday number. What's today, Jesse? It's 5, right?
Playday 5.
Yeah, 5.
Right
there it is.
It's
Well
been crazy.
deserved.
Yes, you guys are right, though. Hardco got it for the MVP of the day. I mean, the journey, right, fellas? You know, being on DZ, being a hard breach, going to Mirage, changing his roles to now dominating in his own way on Space Station Gaming, arguably the best team he's been on so far. Jesse, how you feel about this?
I mean, he's just fit into this roster so much better than my wildest expectations. I mean, we all knew he was good, right? We saw him on Mirage. Nobody was doubting hot and cold. I think it was just going to be a matter of how he fit with Space Station, and they fit so well. I mean, it's ridiculous how strong Space Stations look in this stage, and it really does come all the way down to hot and cold. I think he's the core player for this team that has made the biggest difference, and you'll love to see it, Veli.
Skies, you teamed with him, man. Let me know how you feel.
Man, from a personal feeling, I love it, man. I love seeing Matt do so well. He deserves it. He's one of the most genuine people I've ever met. One of the hardest workers I have ever teamed with. I would say probably top 2 hardest workers I've ever teamed with, along with Bosco. He deserves it, man. He's on a very, very well ran roster, and he's, you know, the sky's the limit for that roster.
That's actually a big statement. Now, Jesse, we're going to get the standings up momentarily, but from the looks of things, we saw Space Station Gaming and TSM at the top, right? Is there a team that you feel like could be out of place before we get the final count that you think might jump up in the standings soon? Because the way it's looking right now, I mean, it's weird. Oxygen being in middle of the pack, right, is really odd. How do you feel about this?
Well, Veli, I mean, every Playday, it's getting harder and harder to readjust yourself, right? After Playdays 1 and 2, if you're at the bottom of the scoreboard, you know, it doesn't really matter. You've got plenty of opportunities to jump up. But now we're getting to that point. We're more than halfway through the season where there's not a whole lot of room to make mistakes anymore. And so some of these teams that we'll see that are going to be at the bottom, I think definitely a team like Oxygen should be doing better than they have been.
Okay.
But they don't have a lot of opportunities to jump back up. So yeah, I'm looking to see them next couple of Playdays really put it into high gear because top 4 is expected for them.
Oh, top 4 is going to be really cool. I'm going to wait for the graphic to come up for that. But Skies, the bottom 4, I'm going to name them. I want you to give me your first thoughts, right? Beast Coast, Xset, Disrupt Gaming, and Oxygen Esports. it's compared to stage 1, this is nuts, right?
Yeah, I think talking specifically about Disrupt, I think one of the issues that they're having is since getting DP Fire, their overall team performance has seemed to dip a little bit, but DP Fire himself as an individual has been performing.
Yeah.
So it's good for them. So I think that, maybe with a little bit more consistency and a little bit more time with him, they will be looking a little bit better.
Sonics are smack dab in the middle of the pack, and we saw their performance there on Consulate. Team is special. We're just waiting for them to try to fight back into that top 4 where they want to sit comfortably, right? The points matter, of course, so keep an eye on the right side. But Jesse, the top 4, this is weird, man. This is like a little remix to season 1 compared to what we have now. Space Station Gaming, TSM, Mirage in 3rd, and also Dark Zero.
I think coming into today, the gap in my mind was between the top 2 and the rest of the league, right? In my mind, Space Station TSM were far ahead of the pack, and they looked like they would beat any other opponent in this league. Mirage today, look at their points right now, and look at how they played in that last matchup, and I think they deserve to be called a top 3 before we get to sort of that gap in skill a little bit. And Dark Zero still managed to win almost every single game. They just happen to all be in overtime, so maybe they deserve to be up there as well. We've got an incredibly close top half of the season.
A dream matchup I want to see, fellas, is Space Station Gaming from 3 years ago versus Dark Zero. 2 teams that just love ties and overtimes, right? But next week we have some more Rainbow Six action for the NAL. Let's take a look at the schedule. It's going to be up on the screen soon. And the first, okay, I like this a lot.
Wow.
Oxygen versus Sonic. Skies, what are you wowing about, man? What matchup do you like here?
I'm looking forward to that SSG TSM game, man, and the OXG Sonics game. I think the OXG Sonics game matters more because you have 2 teams fighting for that top 4 spot, and you have Sonics who had claimed before they were top 4. They haven't done it with this roster, but they did finish 2nd place last season, and now Oxygen 1st place last season. They're both below top 4 right now, so that game is going to matter more than I think.
Yeah, Jesse, any game you're excited for?
I mean, sure, points-wise, standings-wise, Auction Sonic's super important, but it's SSG
I'm talking about
versus
entertainment,
TSM.
Jesse. That's
Come
the points,
on,
man.
Belly. That's the one that I think everybody's looking for. It's going to end out the day. The top 2 teams currently in the league. It's going to be super exciting. That'll likely determine who finishes out the season on top. Not for sure, but that'll be so exciting, Belly. 2 giants clashing.
All right, so to close out the day, it's apparent that Intero was out because of an operation, right? He's taking some time to himself. My man's just healing. So Jacob was a commentator in his place, did a great job. And Skies, having you on the desk has been amazing, man. I'm going to be completely honest. Hearing your insight about not just teams and strategy, but also behind the scenes when it comes to coaches, when it comes to what IGL responsibilities are. You have been phenomenal. Your insight is invaluable. And I really want to leave this last area up to you to basically, give a shout out to the community. They love you in the chat. They love you on Twitter. We love everything you've been doing so far. So after your first play day as an analyst for the NAL, how do you feel so far?
Well, I'll say I was very nervous at the beginning. I can't lie about that. I think you and Jesse have made it much easier than it probably is. And, the support from everybody in the chat, the support from Twitter has been insane. And, I hope I can do this again sometime. I really enjoyed it. And I hope it helped other people see kind of more of the insight from a pro player or ex-pro player's perspective. And, it was an amazing experience. I hope I get to do it again.
We hope so, too. I remember like it was yesterday. Me, Jackie, and Jesse were going crazy whenever you would pop off on Dark Zero, right? We loved it. Jesse, how you feel at the end of this day, man? It's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun, Veli. Obviously, huge shout out to Skies. I mean, just getting to chat about Siege with you for these last couple of hours has been a blast. So thank you for your insight on the desk, 100%. And yeah, we got some good games this week, which we didn't necessarily get the last couple of play days. So today was a whole lot of fun, and I'm super excited for the rest of the season.
Hey, we ended the day big. We had a good game to start off the day. It was entertaining because you know what, right? We ended the day with an amazing series between TSM and Mirage. Mirage won the upset in overtime on Coastline. But coming up next week, you guys saw the matchups, TSM versus Space Station Gaming. You don't want to miss it. So you guys know the deal. We're going to close down this desk. I'm your host, Veli, here with the guest analyst, Skies. I'm here with my man, Jesse. And we'll see you next time for Rainbow Six Siege.